星のカービィがファミコンソフトになった。すっごくカラフル。
ますますやんちゃ。星のカービィ、夢の泉の物語。よろしく。
Yay, it does 25 different exercises. It includes a hydraulic stair stepper, bench and butterfly presses, blade curls, lat pull downs, and more. What a great deal.
Caldor, bring home the difference.
Go ahead, ask her age. I'm 34. 42. 29.
Who do they think they're fooling?
Everyone. New Maybelline Revitalizing Makeup. Age-denying coverage. Outwits fine lines. New Maybelline Revitalizing Makeup. I'm 40.
Maybe she's born with it.
Joe Rodriguez, environmental health specialist and DeVry graduate.
My father raised 8 children on a factory worker's salary. He worked so hard so I could get the right education.
At DeVry, degrees in business and technology match today's opportunities.
My father dreamed of a better life for his family. Sending me to DeVry gave me the opportunities he never had.
Call anytime. 1-800-247-7800. DeVry, we're serious about success.
Let's help them with their Christmas shopping. Joanne?
From 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. this Friday, everything in the store is an additional 10% off. We'll have a special coupon in the circular this week. It's going to be incredible.
Caldor, bring home the difference.
And now
Well, this is kind of awkward. I didn't realize the video. I thought I had enough time left on the video that it wouldn't have ended so soon. And then I also thought, I was considering the fact that my normal break screen doesn't have a camera on it, so I could just sit back down and just wait for a minute once I'm done taking my walk. Yeah, so, yeah, wonders of live entertainment. I'm sorry, I did not realize, I guess, I did not realize that, you might as well start with the back half of the stream now. But let's go back to Kirby's Adventure just for a few minutes. Actually, no. Let's pull up the NES Classic Edition layout, and we'll set the timer. And let's go for 90. No. Yeah, let's go for another. Yeah, let's go for 90 minutes and see how it feels. At 90 minutes, I'm probably gonna end the stream. So, how about I turn off this? There we go. That's accurate. So let's play. Now I want to play. You have your NES Classic modded, you have tons of games in it, more than you know what to do with? Yeah, I have a vanilla NES Classic. I don't... It's like, if I were to... if I were to have a modded one, I would use it to stream, but it'd be a good way to not have to bother with messing around with the PC emulation for. But it's likely that the Analog Pocket is eventually going to get some NES ability to run NES ROMs off the. Oh, we could play. Ooh, we have multiple difficulty levels. Let me tuck in. Okay. Hey, I came this close in an actual game once. I'm gonna play this for 10 minutes. And then move on to, yeah, on Nintendo Switch Online, they have a mode that basically lets you, where all this stuff is already unlocked. There's like it's listed as oh my goodness. I guess I have to play the crane game now. I wanted to play the egg game more. Okay, I'm giving myself... Alright. So if I... Yeah, if I don't try to play and just get it over as quickly as I can... I like how they repurposed the Butter Buildings theme. No bonus. Alright. We want to play the egg catcher game on easy mode. Now how this works is... Hold on. I missed an egg. Oh man, I keep getting the same number of eggs. How about that? Like twice in a row. This is exactly the same number of eggs. But I have to manually... Okay. Oh, blown up. 5,000 points. No, it's likely that when a jailbroken firmware comes out, that the Analog Pocket may be able to run, if they, throw an NES core on there with this jailbreak, that it's possible that it could play NES games. When a jailbreak comes out, it's definitely going to be able to play all the games that it's already officially compatible with. The Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, TurboGrafx, whatever else. Now, the jailbreak is not an officially acknowledged product. It is widely suspected that the jailbreak is something that's produced by Analog and unofficially released, just not formally acknowledged or discussed. But it's also possible it could come from third-party hobbyists who just, modify, make custom firmware for devices. A lot of people expected or assumed that a jailbreak for the Analog Pocket would come out already. And I've seen people get mad, like, oh, I wasted my money. Where's the jailbreak? Like, that was never an officially announced product. There's no timeline for it. And they don't even, so why would you buy a product based on the assumption that that unofficial, technically, well, literally bootleg, unauthorized operating system is going to be available for it soon after launch? I expect it'll be out within the year, but it's like, if you're not on board for the officially announced and acknowledged feature set, then don't get the system. Don't get it assuming that an unannounced and unacknowledged feature set that the company officially disavows any knowledge or support for, and then complain when it doesn't come out when you assumed it would. Okay, Okay, I can't play this. I'd like to imagine I could play the egg game all night, but... Oh, man. What? It's so interesting. How come I keep getting exactly 3 left? Like, This is the third time I've ended up with 3 left. Okay. Alright, here we go. Oh man, okay. Alright, we almost made it to the 3rd row. We're only 1 egg away from filling in that. Okay. I don't want to do the boss rush. Man, this is one of the earlier games I could probably think of that has an option, a boss rush option. I want to get out of here. I want to take the damage. Okay. I'm trying to get damage and I can't. Okay. Yeah, hopefully, like it's... They were supposed to ship at Q1. It doesn't look like that's going to happen at this point. Alright. Egg game. One more time. No, okay, we play Egg Catcher one more time. We'll play one more easy, one more medium, one more challenging, and then we'll play the... No. We can't play Kirby. We've already been playing Kirby's Adventure all night. It's supposed to be a variety. And I want to play other things other than Kirby's Adventure. Alright. We bombed the egg game. Alright. Let's, Alright. So, let's see. We've got Excite Bike. I have plans for Excite Bike. Ice Climber, Mario Brothers, original Donkey Kong. Let's play. Can I force myself to play 10 minutes of Ice Climber? Yeah, this is a game that is definitely... I mean, this is a... Like, I had family members. I played NES, you know, in the early 90s, around the time that the Kirby's Adventure commercial was on the air. I'd go to family members, and they'd have NES. They'd have Super Mario Brothers 1 and 3. No one had 2 for whatever reason. They'd have, you know, Ninja Gaiden, Tecmo Bowl... Yeah, like, those are the games I remember. But those are, like, but they didn't really have a lot of these, what we now call the black box, those early arcade, more arcade-like games that were often more based around a high score attack, couldn't be beaten in the traditional sense. And I never heard of Ice Climbers until Super Smash Bros. Melee, which I felt, even at the time, was like, I played NES, I know of NES. At that point, I'd been reading books. I'd read Game Over by David Sheff, and I never heard of Ice Climbers. And I'd been going to the library and reading like NES fan sites, and I never really noticed Ice Climber. And so, yeah, when I remember, we watched this when I did some E3 coverage. Videos of, like, the crowd when they first revealed Super Smash Bros. Melee, people saying, like, wow, like, Ice Climbers, they really dug deep for that one. Like, that was such a nostalgic, like, old-school reference, right? And Ice Climbers was only 15 years old at the time Super Smash Bros. Melee was revealed, which is, as, like, Ice Climbers, when Super Smash Bros. Melee was revealed, is as old as, like... something like Nintendo Land is today. Like, because Nintendo Land's like, or like the Nintendo DS is like a little more than 15. I think it's like 17, 18. Like, the Nintendo DS is older now than Ice Climbers was when Super Smash Bros. Melee was revealed. And so for me, a lot of people, so I was familiar with NES Nintendo history, and I felt kind of like I never even heard of Ice Climbers. And my older brother who grew up with NES never heard of Ice Climbers. So there's people, like, there's kind of, NES had a kind of a longer lifespan relatively than systems to come after, really until the 7th generation, when you had that generation go on for the better part of a decade. Where the early lifespan of the NES was so distinct from the later and even mid lifespan of the NES in terms of what you get, the nature of the games and what the games were like. That so even people who knew NES, grew up with NES, hadn't heard of some of the earlier black box stuff like Clue Clue Land, Ice Climber. And because like a whole bunch of people my age and younger who were introduced to Ice Climber by Smash Brothers, Melee, and might have even loved this, the Ice Climber, Nana and Popo, the Ice Climber characters. They got when Ice Climber came out as part of the classic NES series of NES re-releases on Game Boy Advance in 2004. They might have come out. They might have. So many people, like the month after the NES Classic Series came out, there were. I wish there were pictures. I'm sure there are pictures floating around of the case of loose Game Boy Advance games at GameStop, with dozens of copies of a lot of these games that people played, like Bomberman or especially Ice Climber. Hold on. Games they had heard of, but never actually played themselves. And then playing them and being shocked by, wait, like they were expecting like something like Super Mario Brothers, but with Nana and Popo, and you have this very simplistic, high score oriented platformer with very limited, like the control, like this is not, like look at that, I did not try to suck there. I just couldn't control the character good, because I'm from a world post Super Mario Brothers. Where the real, it's easy to miss what a huge innovation Super Mario Brothers was with its jumping control, where your character's feet leave the ground, and the length from which you press the button changed how high you jumped, and in addition to that, you could maneuver Mario's jump, the arc of Mario's jump mid jump. Now, Na 1000, hey. You grew up and you never knew Metroid and Zelda and Kirby. You only own a NES China game? Oh, okay. So you were playing, might have been, maybe, it sounds like you're referring to maybe a counterfeit version of the NES. One of those, what they call, was it a sort of a Famiclone type thing? Where it's sort of an unauthorized manufactured NES, and it might come with a cartridge that has a bunch of Nintendo ROMs on it, one of those kind of things? Is that kind of what you're talking about now, 1000? Yeah, I was really, at this time, I was, like, to give you a sense, my first system was the Sega Game Gear in 91 with Sonic the Hedgehog. Was my first real modern game. And thanks for watching, and thanks for, like, I'm not trying to suck at this. If this controlled like Super Mario Brothers, this would be a fun game. But this is kind of like Mario Brothers, not Super Mario Brothers, but the Mario Brothers arcade game, where you have very sort of baked-in jumping controls in this. And yeah, it's funny how like if you're in a region where the on that day you called we called China NES. All right. I know, like, in Russia, for instance, there was what is still called Dendy. Yeah, you didn't know about ROMs at that time? Which was yeah, Nintendo wasn't officially distributing the NES in Russia or the Soviet Union in the 80s. And there was a bootleg version of the Famicom. Not the NES, but the Japanese or Famicom that was called the Dendy. And there were all these cartridges that would have like dozens or even hundreds of different Famicom or NES games on it. And I heard to this day in Russia, if you're up I guess what we might call boomer age in the West, especially in North America or the U.S., what they would call you would call any like game that plugs into the TV a Dendy. There has to be something physically wrong with the microphone itself, because if it was something in software, I'd have to quit out and quit back in and end the broadcast. But if the fact that unplugging it and plugging it back in, and I haven't had that problem, and I've tried this with a couple of different cables. All right, let's see. I'm gonna focus a bit. Let's see how far we can get with this. And, like, I wonder why they even bothered... Why did they bother numbering the tiers here? I wonder why they did that. And honestly, I don't think this game is that good. I think NES Pinball is a much better game than this. I think Clue Clue Land is a much better... Yeah, I unplugged and replugged the mic, Kalaka Boy. Thanks for chiming in that the mic was getting bad again. Yeah, NES Pinball is better than this. Clue Clue Land is better than this. And look at this. This here, if you don't know, look at this. This is a conveyor belt, but there's no animation indicating that it's a moving platform, indicating that's a conveyor belt. Like, when there's something that I'm supposed to know is happening in the game world and it's not animated properly, that's the definition of bad graphics to me. So, here we have... So, Clue Clue Land is better than this? And I think that's a good but flawed game. NES Pinball is better than this, and I think NES Pinball is perfect for what it is, except for the fact that it's... NES Pinball is flawed in the sense that, it's only flawed in the... I thought it was... NES Pinball was basically perfect for what it was until I played Versus Pinball, the arcade version, and that one's much better. Now, But both of those games... This game is on the NES Classic Edition because of Ice Climbers. Because of Ice Climbers' Nana and Popo's inclusion in the Smash Brothers games. If it was not for that, this game would not be on the NES Classic Edition. That's the only reason this game is iconic or recognizable. If it was not for Smash Brothers. And Nintendo just had to keep it to 30. They couldn't have 31 or 32. They just had decided it arbitrarily had to be 30. Now, if they came out with an NES Classic Edition Volume 2 that had different games on it, sure. But no, that had to be exactly 30. And, oh, are we going to have a game with iconic characters like Ice Climber, even though those characters are only iconic or recognizable because of Smash Brothers? Or can we have a good game like NES Pinball or like Clue Clue Land, but that's not, doesn't have any recognizable or famous characters in it? And so unfortunately, and it's kind of funny because in Smash Brothers, I think Melee or Brawl, I forgot which, there's music from Clue Clue Land, and it plays in the Ice Climber stage. So there's this conscious effort to sort of associate Clue Clue Land with Ice Climbers in the sense of historical recognition. Okay, this stage is hard. This game is hard because the jumps are baked in. Like, once you make that jump, you're pretty much locked in. It's not as locked in as with arcade. Like, this makes it look like I never played a video game in my life, and that's not the case. But once we hit a game over here, we're going to move on to the next game. Yeah, this is a game I'm never going to play on stream again, probably. So... Yeah, like... Yeah, Clue Clue Land, Pinball, it's fun getting a high score. This is like... It has level progression that makes it feel like you should have the satisfaction of playing a platformer, but it's more like a high score attack game in spirit. And the... Like... Oh, this jumping. Oh my gosh. Like, even in... Like, they're baked in jumps in Donkey Kong. We'll play Donkey Kong next, I think. They're baked in jumps in Donkey Kong, but at least that game is fun. I mean, I regret that the Pie Factory level isn't in NES Donkey Kong. Well, I keep calling it Pie Factory. Many people call it Pie Factory. It's clearly supposed to be a cement plant, and there's supposed to be tubs of cement on conveyor belts, but come on, it's just fun calling it the Pie Factory level, because food. Or maybe it's just that I'm playing Kirby's Adventure, and so many of the worlds are themed around food. Vegetable Valley, Orange Ocean, Ice Cream Island. Like, what in the world of the Ice Climbers killed the character? Like, this has a wretched scrolling, or as I call it, or known as ratchet scrolling, where if once something scrolls off screen, it no longer exists within the game world. Kid Icarus has that too. Kid Icarus is a game I'd like to play, but I want to save it for its own stream. Because I played the 3D Classics version of Kid Icarus. I never played the actual game. The actual NES. Well, I played the actual NES game on Wii Virtual Console, but I never beat... And now, 3D Classics Kid Icarus has a huge quality of life function and that if you hold B, you fall slower using Pit's wings, even though you can't actually fly. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the good news is we get to leave the game alone now. I don't even care what my high score is. I'm never playing that again. Probably. Super Mario Brothers. I played Super Mario 35 on stream. Never played the actual original game on stream. So let's play. Hey, let's play. Hey, let's play Donkey Kong. Yeah, let's play Donkey Kong. Let's play. Alright. Actually, no. No, actually, I want to play... Let me pick something I can play for 8 minutes. How about... Hey, let's play Metroid for 8 minutes. How about that? Alright. Man, we're adding a lot of games to my list right now. Yeah, we'll start from the... Let's see how far I can get in 8 minutes. Yeah, I never beat the OG Metroid. This is a game, I honestly, like, I never played a Metroid game until Super Metroid and Super Nintendo, but I'd not play, like, I was playing Super Metroid around the same time I was playing Kirby's Adventure. Because, like, in 99 through 2001, well, really 2000, 2001, that's when I was playing old video games. Like, the notion of retro or vintage, I mean, it existed, but at that point, it was more like, yeah, it was still at a stage where there wasn't a retro gaming scene so much. Well, it was in its infancy, but these games were not valued like they are now. You could just go to GameStop or Funko Land or EB Games or whatever. You could clean house. You could just get these games for $1 each, even big titles. But yeah, Metroid was not a game I had run, like, when I was going through the flea markets on Surf Avenue in Coney Island looking for all the games I wanted to play, because really what made me want to play NES. Now, it's funny, I got my NES in 97 literally out of my neighbor's curbside trash, but I had to give it away to another friend at the time. I did not get that NES back until the same time that I was getting into old video games. Because what happened was in like 99 or 2000, through 99, 2000, I was reading Game Over, Press Start to Continue by David Sheff. And this was at a time when, this is before wikis, this was back when it was actually genuinely surprising and shocking information to people to find out that Nintendo was founded in the 1880s to make playing cards in Japan. And the notion that they were making Hanafuda wasn't even, or the concept of what Hanafuda wasn't even established. It was like, just like, oh, do you know Nintendo used to make playing cards? It was like a surprising thing that they existed prior to making video games. But anyway, Game Over, Press Start to Continue by David Sheff was one of the earlier books where you could pick up a book and read a history of a video game company or of a publisher, read about the people who made these games, the marketplace, the context for when these consoles and games were coming out. There are a lot of anecdotal stories about, hey, Na1000, thanks for the follow. If you want to look at my about page, I always schedule my streams well in advance. I stream you once or twice a week, or sometimes no times a week, but I always announce what's going on well in advance on the About page here on Twitch. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm STSH over on Twitter if you do that, and I also announce my streams there. I'm also on Tumblr for the 10 people who still use that site. I happen to have been on Tumblr since the beginning, so I've been the last to leave. I was also kind of late in leaving LiveJournal, but, you know, once LiveJournal turned from being the site that emo high school juniors and seniors use to being that creepy Russian site. It was time to leave, and I'm saying this in the context of like 2005 or 6. I'm not even talking about nowadays, but like, yeah, somehow LiveJournal became an asset of the Russian government, and yeah, it was a time to leave at that point. But the point is, that's where I do my social media at. I don't have Facebook or anything like that. Now, let's see. Can I actually get the first missile expansion? Yeah. I'm talking about this, but yeah, David Sheff, Game Over, Press Start to Continue. One of the first gaming history books that was really available, and or at least that I found on a bookstore shelf. And I mean, at the time, I think they came out in like 98 or 99, that book. No, actually, it might have came out in like 96 or 97, because the book kind of ends kind of late into the 16-bit era. It doesn't even get into Nintendo 64. It ends sort of late in the Super Nintendo era. And it's really focused on Nintendo specifically, and Sega are kind of framed as the bad guys in that context, or the competition. But I was reading this and reading about sort of the cultural impact of the because I knew of NES. I played the games at, relatives' houses, but I never was, I guess, and I remember seeing commercials for NES games, but I was never really aware of the cultural impact the NES had at the time, and the story of what it took to get this system to rebuild the North American gaming market. And I was interested in NES, so I was with my mom on Surf Avenue in Coney Island. And Surf Avenue is the street that has all the amusement parks and attractions and roller coasters and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, creepy. Yeah, really creepy. And that's when I was like, hey, there's an NES. Let me get it. And no, actually, no. I saw a copy of Super Mario Brothers at a flea market, and I just bought it with, some of my pocket money. Because I was, like, in my early to mid-teens at the time. And I was like, hey, let me get my, I got Super Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt. And I just bought it there, and I decided then, you know what? I'm going to get an NES, I'm going to get the controller, and I'm going to, and the power pack, and I'm going to get an NES and play it, and actually experience these games firsthand. And the NES didn't work. I had to send it into repairs. I was probably the last people to get my NES repaired. Or was that? I forgot when it was. But the point was, I got the NES and I couldn't get it to work. And that's right when the friend who I kind of fell out of contact with, because we were friends in elementary school, but she was a couple of years older than me. And it was only, now that we're both adults, we meet up, and, I run into him like, hey, what's going on? But when you're growing up, a couple of years older is a much bigger social difference. And then, because she was a girl and I was a boy, there was that kind of difference too. In addition to the age range, we kind of drifted apart. It wasn't like, oh, I'm not playing with you anymore, you have goodies. It wasn't anything. We just kind of stopped playing together. And she was the friend that I gave the NES to, and she ended up giving it back to me. And that's when I started playing these games. And I never saw a copy of Metroid. Now, I didn't play a Metroid until 2001 with Super Metroid. But actually, okay, we have an hour. We've hit our 1 hour checkpoint. So let's play a few of these black box games. Let's play Donkey Kong. Let's play Donkey Kong. We're gonna let the jingle fully play out. Now, when I played Donkey Kong on NES, I never enjoyed. Hold on. I never enjoyed the NES version of Donkey Kong until I started playing it with the NES Advantage controller. Yeah, playing this with the NES Advantage is a lot more fun. Now, it's kind of funny to think, when this came out on Famicom, this is one of the launch games on Famicom, And Jeremy Parrish on YouTube is NES Works Series and Famicom Works and, you know, different console. He covers all these different major releases for each system. And the great thing is that he doesn't just review the games, he discusses the context of the world, the world to a lesser, but he covers the context of the video game industry. And so you get a sense of just like, oh, this was NES Donkey Kong, it was missing a stage, da da da. He talks about, you know, the history of home ports of Donkey Kong up to this point, why this was the most faithful port of Donkey Kong yet to be released on a home console. And, you know, he'll talk about what this game was like in relation to other games for the system. Because if you think of this in the sense of some of these early black box games, that were some of them like NES Pinball, like Clue Clue Land, these earlier games, or Popeye. If you think of them in the context of the NES release, where effectively Super Mario Bros., though not strictly speaking, but technically came out as a launch game, came out close enough to the launch of... Oh. I could have swore... I must be used to some other version of this where the spring does not bounce at that spot, where that's actually a safe spot. You know what? I think I'm too used to the Game Boy version of Donkey Kong. I think that's what bamboozled me there. Now, okay. Yeah, this is... yeah, so when you think of it in terms of the NES launch in North America, where these early, like, arcade ports, single-screen, score attack arcade games, were really coming out alongside Super Mario Bros. And even something like Kung Fu, where the nature of what was expected from a game, or what could be expected from a game, had transformed so significantly at that point. I might have been a frame or two away from getting taken out by the spring. And so we jump straight to the rivet stage, because there's no pie factory, even though I know it's supposed to be a cement plant. There's no cement plant, cement factory level in this version of Donkey Kong. Because, I mean, just to think of how far the NES came. The NES launched with this. There are 3 stages in the original Donkey Kong. I forgot, you could... Yeah, you could... My hitbox... Okay, hold on. Yeah, my hitbox. I forgot, I'm not invincible when I have the hammer. I actually have to make sure that my hammer actually strikes the enemy. Yeah, if you play this like you're playing Super Mario Bros., you will not last long. Like, I remember the first time I played arcade Donkey Kong. It's the first time I played any version of Donkey Kong, and just being shocked. Like, I play Super Mario Land. I play Super Mario Land 2. I know how to play a platformer game. I know how to play a Mario game. Why am I so bad at this? And I couldn't understand things, just the fact that your jumps are baked in. Once you dedicate to making a jump, you can't adjust your jump in midair. Your jump height doesn't change depending on how long you hold the button. The fact that, yeah, you can't jump, your arc is baked in. The fact that you, Mario, look at that. I didn't intend to do that. Maybe I subconsciously did. The fact that you can't, Mario doesn't survive jumps. You cannot fall from any distance greater than Mario's own body height. Like the height of Mario's sprite. If you fall from higher than that, Mario instantly dies. Like, even that jump there might have been a little risky. And, okay, jump. Man, this is intense. And the fact that as I understand it, the high score for this game is really tricky, because it is not based around just surviving. Like, you can keep playing the game level after level after level till you get to the point where, what they call the kill screen, where effectively there's an error because no one and they didn't program the game with the anticipation of accounting for how far people could play. So eventually the game doesn't know how to set the time properly, and you get with a stage that's impossible to complete. Which is how a lot of these old score attack arcade games worked. In terms of the ending, there was no ending. The game eventually just glitched and provided you with an unbeatable stage. Pac-Man instantly has the level 256, where you can't complete the stage because half of the board isn't drawn in properly. But with this game, it's not a matter of just playing well and surviving. It's about beating the game. It's about, like, getting as many points as possible before you get to that kill screen. Yeah, so, to get back to this is the thought I never finished. Where NES began with this. The arcade version of Donkey Kong has 4 stages. This has 3. They had to cut a stage from this game just to fit it on the cartridge. Now, there is a completed ROM for a full version of Donkey Kong with all 4 stages. That's now retroactively, officially known as by Nintendo as Donkey Kong Original Edition. But they did not release that into retail at the time because they could not fit all 4 stages onto a ROM, the chip of the cartridge. So you start, NES starts off where you had to cut. You have a port of a game with 4 single screen stages, and you have to cut a stage to fit it on the cartridge. To having Super Mario Brothers, a game with 32 stages. Yes, there were a few that are recycled with different enemy arrangements, or something like that. But a game, I think 32 stages. A game with multiple 32 scrolling stages. And then ending with Kirby's Adventure, and Gimmick. And, you know, when you have amazing shooters with tons of moving object. Oh, I was a frame or 2 away from making it to the top of that ladder. I was just being reckless there. A game like Summer Carnival 92 Rekka, where the game is, like, there's no limit to what you could do effectively. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I'm playing this like I'm playing Super Mario Brothers. And it's funny because in Donkey Kong on Game Boy, when you play through these stages, you play through it using effectively a modern Mario physics. And, oh, I got crushed. I waited too long, I got crushed. Yeah, but imagine going back to 1981 and showing in 1980 or whenever, I think it was 80 or 81 Donkey Kong came out. I think it was 81. And actually showing people this and being like, look at this. I have this on a home system. Back when, if you compare this, sorry for the yawn there, if you compare this to something like the Atari version of Pac-Man. I mean, the Atari version of, of Donkey Kong. And compared to this, there was an Intellivision version, I think, an official Intellivision version of Donkey Kong as well. Alright. And this is the first time I played the actual NES version of Donkey Kong in years. The first time in a long time, much longer than that I've played this using the NES gamepad here. Because I never liked playing the NES version of this until I started playing it with the NES Advantage. And you cannot plug the NES, aside from the fact that you can't plug the NES Advantage into a NES Classic Edition. It also happens to be the case that my NES Advantage is in storage several hundred miles away. Because I still have a storage unit in my old state where I used to live. And I still have a lot of stuff I need to bring over. I'm probably going to need to get a bigger apartment, frankly. Before I could go and bring all that stuff over, but that's a problem for later on. I'll deal with that later. Depending on how I go about going to get my stuff, because I'm probably gonna have to rent a truck, because I don't have a car that could really bring all that crap over to my new region. You don't need to hear about my moving logistics. I mean, the fact that I've lived where I am now since since June 2021, and it is now late March 2022, and I have only gone back to my old region once and only gone back to my old storage unit once. I think that says a lot. Okay, about how much of that old stuff, how much of the stuff that I didn't bring with me. Oh no, I was trying to be greedy. I get overconfident and think I can make it up that. I think that ladder is where I've taken like most of my deaths so far. It's interesting. I just noticed the title screen actually says "Made in Japan" on it. That's interesting. And you know, for so long, this right here was the oldest officially. This is the oldest version of Donkey Kong to be released digitally by Nintendo, because Nintendo designed Donkey Kong, but they actually outsourced it to a third party to actually program the game, and there was some kind of there were different disagreements about royalties and payment over the original version of Donkey Kong, and because of that, it was not until Nintendo Switch, when Hamster released their Arcade Archives version of the original Donkey Kong ROM, that the true arcade ROM of Donkey Kong was ever made legitimately, officially available by Nintendo. And it's funny because that happened around the same time as Sky Skipper. And the only home version of Sky Skipper, I think, was released by Milton Bradley on the Atari 2600, with absolutely no Nintendo branding to it whatsoever. And I think the Atari version of Sky Skipper came out a couple of years after the arcade's extremely limited test run, where I think they only made like a dozen... Wow, that's a long fall to your death there. Yeah, very limited test run. And it was... I wonder if anyone made... I wonder if there's a fan project for a... I'm interested. I want to just look this up. I want to look this up real quick. Hold on. I just want to look up... How about... No, I open up a new tab. How about... NES Sky Skipper fan game? No. NES Sky Skipper. No, there's not even a fan-made NES version. That would be interesting, you know, like fan-made like project. Like, what if? Hold on, I just want to test something real quick. I just want to go to my hold screen. Where is? I'm looking for. What's happening in my stream deck? Hold on. Okay. Alright, excuse me. Alright. Alright, everything's good, and... Alright, time for another game. So, what are we gonna play? Okay. Super Mario Bros. 3, I have plans for it. Final Fantasy, I got plans for it. Very long-term plans for it. Ice Climber, we played. Donkey Kong Jr. Do we want to play Donkey Kong Jr.? Let's play... Do I close my eyes and... What? You know what? I want to play Galaga today, but how about, heck, let's play another platformer. Let's play the 8-bit version of Super Mario Bros. 2. Now, I have played I've played the Game Boy Advance version of this. Now, actually, the first version of this I played was the NES version. I mean, the Game Boy Advance version. And, let's see how far I can get in 15 minutes. Without warps. That'll be interesting. Now, I could have got... If I chose Luigi, I could have very easily gotten a lot further than this than I am now. Now, if I jump... Okay. So, oh, man, I gotta get used to playing as not Kirby. I'm so used to playing as Kirby. These physics are very I wonder if I played as Luigi, if it would work out better. Now, I didn't even go into subspace to get the extra heart, when I clearly would have benefited from doing so. Whoop, there we go. Got the ninja there. Now, if I play as Luigi, I could jump through this entire cave section and not have to go through here. Now, I'm not seriously trying to beat the game right now, but I can get an extra heart, which you don't really need, or more coins for the slot machine. Now, I remember the first time I played through this stage on Game Boy Advance, of course in the backseat of my mom's car. I mean, that's a great thing about handheld games, is that it's not just the time in your... Like, with any video game, the time in your life you first played it is part of your memories of that game. But then with a handheld game or a portable console, the places that you played it is memorable too. Like, I remember being in the backseat of my parents' car the day we got Pokemon. And I remember... Yeah, it was the day in '98... I had a good report card, and I was into the Pokemon anime. I watched a number of episodes, and I really enjoyed it. And I was sitting, of course, I vividly remember the moment, sitting in math class, where I decided, you know what, I should get the Pokemon game for Game Boy. That would be really cool. And because I remember thinking, like, I like this game world, I want to be able to experience in an interactive way the world of this show. And of course, I was sitting in my special education math class and thinking about places I'd rather be. I wasn't even seriously... I could do pretty okay at that slot machine if I ever seriously try to win. Actually, let's stick with Mario for this run. How far can I get in 15 minutes using only Mario? Now, the speedruns strats and the way they abuse these Pidgeots with their flying carpets is absolutely ridiculous. Now, I guess the Breezos, I think they're called, are at their core just evil subcons. Oh my goodness. I actually took damage. Now, I don't know why, but the small sprites for these characters look so always look so janky to me. Especially the Luigi sprite, because the Luigi sprite really is, without exaggeration, just the same head as the large sprite, but with tiny feet, and without the body part of the sprite. You know, it's funny, like, in some ways, if you look at Doki Doki Panic... Oh, I was a frame away from taking damage from that Phanto. Now, one thing I think they definitely were right to change when they did the All-Stars version of this. I think the All-Stars version is the first version of this game where they changed the pink Shy Guy and Sniffit variants into... Yeah, there's Shy Guy and Sniffit variants that are pink instead of red. And starting with All-Stars, they started making those guys blue instead of making them red. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, now we go into the door. Oh, for some reason I remembered the mushroom being on the other side. Grab a coin for the slot machine at the end. Okay, there we go. Oh, come on, come on. Yeah, we got it. Can we get to Birdo? No, I was a few frames shy. We almost made it. Take that. Okay, 1. Yeah, I remember the first time playing this in the backseat of my mom's car in the Game Boy Advance version. The newness of Game Boy Advance, I was totally, never played Super Mario Bros. 2 before. I looked it up online. I couldn't even find screenshots of NES Super Mario Bros. 2 at the time. Can you believe that? There was a time where you could look up online, and you'd have to look up, I don't know, it was like Lycos, or maybe even Ask Jeeves. Trying to find, like, what Super Mario Bros. 2 looked like, because I had seen 1, and I owned 1 and 3 on NES, and I had memories of 1 and 3 on NES. No one I knew, and none of the flea markets or swap meets or whatever, I never just found copies of Super Mario Bros. 2. It just seemed a weirdly rare game. I guess everyone stuck to the more traditional, or I guess 1 and 3, I guess, sold better. Well, 1, oh my gosh, many versions of 1 came with the system, so, but oh boy. Yeah, that was my first death. Yeah, actually, that was my first. And there goes the potion. I cannot believe the fact that Wisdom Tree made a ripoff of this game where you play as Jesus. Like, what? That was... I mean... How do you... how do you do that? Like, how do you... I mean, I guess that's the question with a lot of games like that. Like, how do you make something like that without... But the thing is, those games were successful with their target audience, because the whole thing was, like, Color Dreams was making these unauthorized Nintendo games, and it wasn't, like, Nintendo couldn't, I think they couldn't legally stop them from making the games, but they could go to retailers and be like, hey, you know, Toys R Us, hey, all you toy stores, if you sell these unauthorized Color Dreams games, we're not going to sell you authentic Nintendo games anymore for NES. And they'll be like, okay, how do we sell games to someone who doesn't care if they get blacklisted by Nintendo for selling normal, like, official Nintendo games? I know, Christian bookstores and religious supply stores. They don't care. So they just make our religious edutainment games for, if you could even call them that, for NES. And the stores don't care about selling regular Nintendo games, so, or officially authorized Nintendo games, so. And I guess the games were selling well. I mean, the games were rare, but, I mean, it's funny how Color Dreams, I think the company still exists, or at least some holding company that has the official legitimate rights. I don't know if this is still the case, but as of a few years ago, you actually could, I think it was 2013 or 14 when I last tried this, if you went to Color Dreams website, you can play, they had a browser-based NES emulator. Oh my gosh. Second death of the stream. Second death of Super Mario Bros. 2, rather. I mean, I have 5 minutes left. Can I beat World 1 in 5 more minutes? I'm very sure I can. But, yeah, Wisdom Tree had a few of their NES games on their website to play for free on an emulator. Like, I remember hearing, even in the 90s, I remember an EGM article mentioning the King James Bible ebook, I guess you could call it, that Wisdom Tree put out on the Game Boy? And I swear, I think I did see that at a Funko Land back then, and I think that game is very rare now. Oh my gosh. I'm being a little reckless here. I mean, who comes... Oh my gosh, I was being reckless, but... Yeah, like a mouse with sunglasses that... I have no lives left. Am I gonna have to use a continue on World 1? Well, I have to face that shame. Okay, almost took damage there, but, oh. Overshot the platform. Yeah, it's been a few years since I haven't done... The last time I did this, it was on my real NES system. Plugged into my CRT TV that's back in my old state in a storage unit. Okay. Oh, can I... No! Like, I love these characters, though. Who came up with a bomb-throwing mouse wearing, like, sunglasses? That's so cool. There's something just so cool about that. Just really kind of leaning into the cartoony aspect of this particular game. Alright. So we have 3 more... let me focus. Let me actually try to see. Can I get... I feel like the easiest enemies to line up are the Shy Guys, or the Sniffets, rather. Because of the big red world sprite. Okay. And, I got one. Okay. And... okay. No, we missed one. No, 1 out of 3. We get nothing. And... oh my gosh, I'm so, like pent up. Oh, got 1. Got 2. No. Hey, we got 2 out of 3. That's better. I mean, we didn't get anything, but... okay, 1. Oh my gosh. Yeah, how about that? Nice. Okay. Oh, almost. Alright, now if I was playing this serious, I would go with Toad in this stage. But, I'm gonna go with Mario. So yeah, the last time I played this in any form was Game Boy Advance a year and change ago. Actually, no, it was closing in on 2 years ago, which is scary to even think about. Back when I was doing my summer Game Boy Advance launch period themed streaming. But I was restricted to what was available. Within the first year of Game Boy Advance's release, I was restricted to what was available on the Game Boy Advance. Okay. Oh. Nope. Okay, come on. Oh, I don't like being mean to snacks in video games, but, well, I mean, it was... if we were to get to the end of this, we'd have to be really mean to that, I almost said Hydra, but Hydra traditionally has 9 heads, and Triclide only has 3. So, oh, but yeah, I love snakes in video games. And I love the Sinnoh era of Pokemon anime, because Jessie's the Viper is cool. I mean, her Ekans and Arbok were cool too, but I miss Jessie's Seviper. And it's unfortunate that because of Jessie's Seviper, like Seviper's one of those Pokemon that got the short end of the stick. Like Spearow and Fearow have a reputation of being like evil Pokemon, because in the first episode they were featured in, they were violent or dangerous. And then Ekans has a reputation, like the Ekans line. Seviper has a reputation for being... okay. Alright. We only have time for 2 more games before the end of the stream. Will I play... Bubble Bobble, I want to give some more personal time to. I want to give it a proper stream at some undisclosed point in the future. So Mega Man 2, I've never played any of the classic Mega Man games. The oldest Mega Man game I've ever played is Mega Man X1. Ninja Gaiden, yeah, I don't feel like being destroyed tonight, but Ninja Gaiden is one of the games I was playing alongside Super Mario Bros. 3, the first Super Mario Bros., and Tecmo Bowl, when I'd play NES at relatives' houses when I'd go to the out-of-state. I would like to play Pac-Man, but I have special plans for Pac-Man themed streams in particular. So we played Kirby's Adventure, we beat it. Star Tropics is another game I want to give a lot of attention to, but Excite Bike's getting its own stream. Donkey Kong Jr. Let's play Mario Brothers. Let's play... No, I know. We've got to play... Well, let's play... I want to play Balloon Fight. We have time for 2 more games. Let's play... Yeah, 14 minutes of Balloon Fight. Now, it's kind of funny, because this is basically a ripoff of Joust, but I never played Joust. So, and I've heard people say that this is the better game. If you were to... Hold on, actually, I need to do this more often. Why haven't I need to check my audio. Joust, but I never played Joust. So, and I've heard... Okay, good. Alright, my audio's good. Because sometimes my microphone's been messing up the stream. It's a problem that hasn't happened in several streams. Yeah. Yeah, Zelda, I'm probably never gonna beat Zelda on stream, but I do have plans to play it. And let's just say I have some tapes from my childhood with commercials for the original Legend of Zelda. I did not care about video games at the time that the commercial was airing, and the times I was watching it on the tape. It really didn't stick out to me until I was watching these tapes around 2000, because the thing is, I have like a tape, these tapes, like the tapes I ripped, like the very tape that I ripped the Kirby's Adventures commercials from earlier in the stream. I was watching that tape as early as 2000 or 2001 with nostalgic feelings. Like, wow, look at this old tape. And I remember even in 2001, remembering there are tapes I'd watch in like 93 that were recorded in 88 or 89. And even then, I was thinking, wow, this tape was recorded in the 1980s. So I was this weirdly aware, or I guess unusually reverent or aware of the historical value of old stuff, or old programming, or recordings, and ways that really predated, I guess, the mainstream sort of nostalgia movement by decades. So, yeah, so thanks to me having that attitude, that's the only reason a lot of these tapes survived. The fact that even in the 90s, I was conscious of the sort of historical value of these old tapes. Now, when I was playing a lot of NES stuff in like 2000, 2001, I was playing a lot of the stuff I remember from playing at relatives' houses. I'm playing a lot of the mid to late era NES stuff. I didn't start getting into stuff like the black box games, like stuff like Excite Bike, Clue Clue Land, Balloon Fight. I wasn't getting into those until early in college. So I was think 2000, like 4 or 5, 6-ish is when I was really getting into a lot of this NES stuff. This early NES stuff, when NES was more along the lines of, you have these black box games, with the exception of Super Mario Bros., but a lot of these black box releases could be thought of as souped up score attack Atari type games, ColecoVision type arcade games, and not the sort of Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3, Ninja Gaiden, those types of more complex, more deep platform action type experiences. And so I was kind of getting into these earlier NES games later on, more recently, relatively speaking. And, you think of like 2000, 4, 5, 6, that was like, when you think of 2005, 6, playing Clue Clue Land, Excite Bike, and really getting into them for the first time, even though knowing of them. That wasn't too long before the Virtual Console on the Wii became a thing. Oh my gosh, okay. Like, I remember, because I went to a commuter college, I remember around this time, coming back from, like, freshman year college, before the Wii even came out, and getting home from college, and, even later in high school, I guess, too, But getting home from high school or early college, coming home and having a big bag of cheese nips. Not Cheez-Its, but cheese nips specifically. I'd give a big bag of cheese nips, and I'd unwind after class playing these early NES games and eating cheese nips. I especially remember playing lots of Excite Bike, Clue Clue Land, and Balloon Fight. 38,700. That's a score I want to take down. It's a score I want to take down. I didn't have a document ready for it. And actually, recently, I started using a trackpad instead of a traditional mouse. Even though I'm using a desktop-style setup. But I'm using a trackpad. I like it, except for I don't have a way to... I accidentally pinch and in and out, which will inflate and deflate the whatever program or document I'm in, and that's not my intention. Even using the settings in Windows to try to disable that does not make it work. But where's my... Okay, I want to take down the score. I just want to take down the score. Where is... Okay. Yeah, so if I go into, 38,700. No, not 18, 38,700. So let's see if I can get any more scores. I want to, these are one of the game, Balloon Fight's one of the games where I would like to keep track of my score. And collect a pool of data. Maybe, break out my TI 108, do some maths, some arithmetics, work out some averages, make a box and whisker chart to track my outlying scores, all that fun stuff that I like to do just for the heck of it. Meanwhile, freaking education system wants to say I'm mathematically illiterate. And they were just saying I was mathematically illiterate in doggone grade school, and meanwhile I'm reading books. Meanwhile I'm watching Saturday morning cartoons and cutting out a set of Napier's bones out of a box of cereal and using the backs of the... But that's another story. I mean, not that I'm not trying to flex too hard. I didn't know how to actually use a set of Napier's bones, but I know who John Napier was. I had a sense of the sort of calculations he was, and theories and concepts he was working with in math. And I knew of Napier's bones, and I knew how to copy and make my own set, now that I could use them. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh. No. Okay, we're jumping. Yeah, I've never actually played Joust. That's a game I need to when I get access to, some actual, old games, I need to... I remember, like, even in the late 90s, I was fascinated by Atari. Because I hear about Atari from my parents, like, oh yeah, like, before Nintendo and Sega, there was Atari. And that's how this all kind of got started. And there was stuff before Atari, but this is pre-internet. That's the first... Atari was the 2600. My parents knew Atari, and they knew enough to call it the Atari 2600. Now, I'm looking back at old tapes that I watched. There were commercials for the 2600, as they were still trying to push Atari 2600. 14,750. A lot lower than my first... Okay. 1, 4, 7, 5, 0. Okay. 1, 4, 7, 5, 0, and then the second one is going to be 1. 1, 4, 7, 5. No, not 6. 5, 0. I'm thinking of... I was considering getting a USB, much like this trackpad. You can get a standalone numerical pad. So I could map certain functions to it for different things I maybe would like to do in the future that I'd otherwise would possibly need a second stream deck for or something like that. Or I could actually just go ahead and just map it to some number keys and remember what key does what. That's an extra 9 keys right there. Just reach out my hand and hit the keys. No problems whatsoever. And there we go. Now, I love when I could take out a bunch of these guys before they even take flight. Now, this is a really good game to play. This is a fun game to play with the NES Advantage, because you have your turbo button, obviously, so you can just hold the button and make the little balloon man fly around. Now, I wonder why they decided to have this game take place at night. I've been playing this game since 2004 or 5. Oh my gosh. Aww. I have to, tomorrow, I'm gonna have to look into this. I'm gonna have to try to figure out why I'm getting static with my microphone. I'm sure I've used multiple USB cables. It comes and goes. Is it something? Huh. Like, what's going on? Where I'll have to do some more rigorous experiments trying to replicate these problems. Because I don't want this to happen, because I'm playing Kirby in the Forgotten Land on Friday. When it comes out, I'll be back Friday at 5 Eastern Standard Time with Kirby in the Forgotten Land. And I want this stage. This stage, if I'm rusty now, but if I'm good, I could take out, like, almost all of these guys before they even take flight. And boom! End of stage. Now, I want to do good in this bonus round. No, we missed. No perfect jingle for us. At least we got that straggler there. No, we missed. Nah, no way we're getting a perfect score, but we're still having fun. And, no. And, there we go. Yeah, you know what, I just forgot until right there. Yeah, your microphone, microphone. I'm still thinking about this silly mic right here. Yeah, I'm still thinking, I forgot that this game has wraparound scrolling. I wonder why they wait around so long before they start, I mean, I know why, like, later in levels they do it start faster, but, oh my goodness, I just ran right into him. 33250. 33250. How much time do I have left? Okay. What can we get? No. You know what? No. I was gonna say. Oh no. Alright. I accidentally activated 2-player mode somehow. I was gonna say, I wanna... There we go. If I had been watching the clock more closely, I would have taken... Yeah, so this is the closest we have to a proper platformer experience in this, but I wonder why they went with night instead of day. I never noticed that, never considered the significance of going for a nighttime scene instead of a daytime scene. Maybe I thought the characters would stand out better. But then the fact that they decided to scroll left instead of right, I wonder what that's about. But then in Balloon Kid, I didn't know, even with all my interest in Nintendo history, I had no idea that there was a full-fledged sequel to... Yeah, let's just stop that time. I had no idea that there was a sequel, a Game Boy exclusive sequel to Balloon Fight that was a actual proper full-fledged platformer. Alright. So let's play. I'm gonna get something ready for this right now. I didn't think of this. This will be fun to track my scores in. They have to keep track. No, I'm playing the NES version, not the arcade version. But, how about we play a little Galaga? I'm glad they included Galaga and not Galaxian. I like Galaxian. And you know what? My favorite version of Galaxian, or Galaxian, is on Apple II. And Apple II is, for old computer systems, one of those computers that's relatively easy to hook up to a converter. Is this game really quiet, or is it just me? I don't... Alright. Of course, we want to take them out as they enter the stage. But we don't want to take out too many of them, because if there are only a few left, I forgot exactly how many, then they won't, There we go. Get captured. On purpose. With our deep strategy. There we go. No, wait. Why is he... What happened? Why didn't it register? That's some butt. Why didn't I get my fighter back? That's butt. Doggone. Whenever you hear this game, you think pizza? Yeah, that sounds about right. That's a little... Yeah, predates my time a little bit. Wait, the fighter's back now? No, you know what I used to go to Dave & Buster's, and what this irked the heck out of me about Dave & Buster's is that basically I can't shoot my own fighter. I think I just encountered some kind of weird glitch. Yes. Yeah, we're dual wielding now. The original dual wield challenging stage. But it's kind of funny how it's called challenging stage, yet it's actually relatively... It's like the only stage where you're at no risk of losing fighters. Yeah, you think of pizza. I think of Dave & Buster's in terms of actually playing it in an arcade. Yeah, I'm head bopping to that. Yeah, I'm head bopping to that. But the Galaga, like I remember going to Dave & Buster's and doggone, I got cocky. Well, actually, this is the first time in several years that I've played Galaga, to be fair to myself. And I think, you know what? I didn't realize this. This I think might be the first time I've actually played the NES version of Galaga. I've played different versions. Because I always... I don't think I've... Alright, that's the game over. 25,380. Huh. Yeah, I'm definitely not familiar. I don't remember this jingle. Yeah, that's interesting. Alright. You know, I'm gonna let the whole formation swoop in. Actually, no, I don't need to let the whole formation swoop in. I'll just take out a few. Yeah, but at Dave & Buster's, frankly, I like old arcade games, and Dave & Buster's is more geared towards ticket redemption games. And games like in multiplayer games. And Miss Pac-Man and Galaga was the only like old arcade game they had at Dave & Buster's. So I'd spend most of my time playing it. Now at one point they had a triple cabinet. This is officially legit by Nintendo. It wasn't a MAME cabinet or anything like that. But they had an... Oh, doggone. They had a 3-in-1 cab that was Donkey Kong Jr., and Mario Brothers. Yeah, not Donkey Kong 3. Did I lose that fast? That was lame. 3,590. And of this series, I have only played Galaxian and Galaga. I've never played Gap Plus or Galaga 3 or any of the other games in the series. Did I play Galaga Legions? I remember being excited when Galaga Legions was announced, but I don't think I ever actually played it. Actually, I remember being I think it was somehow at an E3 when they announced Galaga Legions. No, I just didn't have an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation 3. I think those are the systems it came out for. Even though it's been years since I've played any version of Galaga, I feel convinced that just the slight quirks in this version are throwing me off. But I have 8 more minutes. Let's see how far I can get. Nope, not happening. Not happening. And yes. Yeah, I can even just hear in the music. Because I've played, like, it's interesting. I don't know what other versions of Galaga I've been playing. Because I know it's this glitch again. It's this glitch again where... Did the ship... What happened? 4140. Man, why did I do so good the first time? And yes, I care more about completing the stages than getting high accuracy. Yeah. And okay. Now, I don't have access to a Kirby's Dream Land cartridge. Yeah, I wasn't able to add it to my... I didn't decide to do a Kirby-themed month until fairly recently. I didn't really have the time to go hunt... Like, the one retro game shop I've found in my new region... Well, there are a couple, but the only one I've shopped at, they didn't have a copy when I went to visit them. And then, the last time I went to visit them... And I didn't feel like trying to find a copy on eBay and hoping it gets here in time and all that. Because I would have actually probably played Kirby's Dream Land first and then moved on to Kirby's Adventure. For this sort of Kirby-themed month as this has sort of become. Alright. Okay, for the second time this stream, we're dual wielding. Got... I swear this is gonna be... I'm almost certain this is already going to be my second best, Man, I got... Oh! He spawned out of nowhere. Okay, let's take these guys out. No, I let one get away. This is not good for my hand. I can't play games like this too often. Because I already limit my gameplay to preserve my physical health in terms of my wrists and dexterity. Okay. Oh my gosh. almost got hit. Yeah, I tore through those guys. Woo! Oh man. Yeah, it's hard playing with this little NES gamepad. I'm used to being able to really lean in on the cabinet. Because I mean, for one of the only games at Dave & Buster's I cared about at all, I certainly got a lot of play out of No, do I want... Oh, I actually didn't intend to, but now I'm gonna turn this in my favor. Oh man, 2 with 1 shot. How do you like that? What? Wow, there's not the arcade version, there's not a jingle when you accidentally shoot out your own ship. 33890. Let me punch this in. Yes, I'm building a spreadsheet. Why do you ask? Yeah, it's my best score so far. Hey, and you know what? Well, you know what? I technically have 3 minutes left, but it's 9 sharp. And the last game ended right there. Yeah, one more. Hold on. Let me just, Alright. Yeah, just one more. And then we'll call it Let's see how far I can get. Just one more, right? And I'll probably end up taking more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds anyway. Why am I fighting these guys on level 1? Oh, never mind. I thought those were those little, like, flower bud guys that sort of can sprout out of other ships in later rounds. Or later waves. Or I guess, well, the game calls them stages. Oh yeah, I'm glad I chose this last, because this is not a game I need to be playing for a long time. With the way you have to jam on the button. Like, I was playing, like, Paper Mario like this, where I had to jam on the button a lot like this to use Bombette's action command in battle later in the game. Because I was really getting a lot of mileage out of Bombette. And, frankly, it got to a point where I had to take a week off streaming at a time when... No, I didn't take a week... Well, I streamed. But what I did was I ran my unabridged Let's Play of Deltarune Chapter 1 to substitute for not having a Paper Mario stream. And then the following stream, I finished Paper Mario, which is the first and so far only RPG I've beaten on stream. Only RPG I've played on stream as well. And then, at the end of that stream, I got the call that said, my new glasses are ready. And oh boy, do I love these new glasses. Not that I desperately need them, but everything's just better with them. Like, I could go days at a time without wearing them, but it's just better with them. Come on, take out. Alright. We're time up, but we're going in on this. We're playing this to the we're seeing this through to the end. That didn't last long. I got, oh, I was so excited I got that flashing one. I forgot what that even means. Or is that the flashing one's the one that's gonna spawn those little like bud, those little things that look like those certain seeds that fall from trees in springtime sometimes? Alright. Can we... Where... the whatever enemy those ones spawned out of, because it's like one enemy will fly, and those other little ones start... sort of flying around. I don't know where. Oh my gosh. Yeah, got him. Yeah! Wow, we got a bonus fighter. I mean, what are these fighters even doing? They're just like, hey, let's show off and get ourselves killed in the process. Without firing. Let's show off without firing. And yeah, within the context of the game world, these sequences don't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, and the whole thing where the score, bonus score counts down, that's something unique to the NES. It never occurred to me until just now that I never played the NES version of this game. Oh. Oh boy, do I... Oh my goodness, they're real... This is... You know what bombed me? 44310. Yeah, my best. Actually, no, I'm gonna hit reset to... Alright. So, that's it for this stream. I'm gonna be back on, Friday, the day after tomorrow, the 25th of March, 2022, at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is going to be the first 3D Kirby game, but as far as my stream goes, the third 3D platformer I've ever played after Super Mario 64 and Super Mario 3D World. My first modern game of the year, and I think my 5th or 6th modern game overall. So I'll see you all for that, and I just want to give a... Okay, my art... Yeah, Streamlabs, my CloudBot's being weird, and my commands aren't working like they should. I can't get my shout out to my artists like I normally like to. But, I'm going to send you all over to Pete Dorr. He's doing, a PSN indie game shopping, so he's just looking for games to play and play them. It's pretty fun to watch, so I'm going to please let this work. Alright, so I'm sending you over to Pete. I'll see you all on Friday. Thanks my new viewers and new watchers, and hey, and it's not every day that we have a game that we could beat, so I'll see you all next time, and thank you very much for watching.